Planet X Prophecies of 50 Years Ago and More. I found this webpage, Crawford 2000, and it has a lot of information of the Planet X genre. If you don't have a job, you might want to go there and read everything they have so you know the future. I'm reading Dino Kraspedon's book for this channel. The title is My Contact with UFOs. Dino Kraspedon met the captain of a flying saucer in 1952, published a book about it in 1957, and the captain came to his house. Dino Kraspedon is his pen name. His real name is Aladino Felix, born in 1905. He died in 2004. Today is November 25th, 2014, 2 days before Thanksgiving. So he died 10 years ago at about age 99. In his book, he was told by the captain that the Earth changes in pole shift would take place at the end of the century, around the year 2000. Poor Dino hung around 4 more years waiting for this to happen, and he died before the pole shift. As I read the predictions of several people, you will see that some say that the date depends upon us. If we lean toward spirituality, then the pole shift doesn't have to happen. But if the war criminals remain in control, then most of the people on the planet will die. That's what the prophets say. I'm reading all I can find to know what they say because I'm not a prophet. Let's get into the write-up on this page and pay attention to the items on the left. If one interests you, the link will be in the video description. The author writes, here are some of the more remarkable prophecies. In 1919, a German woman medium, known as the Dresden Pythia, predicted a great war between Japan and America, as well as a new European war. Apparently, her patriotism overshadowed her prophetic accuracy, for she predicted that Germany would be the victor over France and England. We may presume that post-war German resentment against the French and English also colored this prophecy. Well, I disagree, and here's why. I have read from multiple sources that Germany did win, and that the U.S. obtained the designs for a time machine when Nikola Tesla died. They built it. They did something called the Pegasus program. Andrew Basiago said he time traveled. Larry Solars said he time traveled. Andy Perro said he time traveled. And one of the things that Andy Perro said he did was he traveled back to World War II and provided the Allies with information so they could win the war. And they did. The South won the Civil War in America, and there are people who went back and helped the North win against the South. The South had a much bigger army, much stronger army. They were much more capable. They were fighting on their own turf, and they were fighting for their lives. And the people who caused the upset did so because they knew the battle plan. And they went back and fed erroneous information to the Southern generals so they would lose. Is this all true? I have no idea. But this German woman in 1919 predicts that Adolf Hitler will win, or that Germany will win, and they did. And the CIA went back and changed it. Does that mean that the Nazis are gone? Definitely not. They are all here, and their influence is very clear. America has become a Nazi country, and we have Gestapo everywhere. It's called the TSA. It's getting worse and worse. And even if you get in a time machine and go back and change the outcome of a war, it doesn't change what happens to the people. They still wind up under a Nazi regime. That's what it seems like to me. Next paragraph. This is a quote. Part of the French, Belgian, and German coasts will be flooded. All of England will sink into the sea during a terrible earthquake. At the same time, there will be a re-emergence of a great continent in the region of the Azores, the old Atlantis. There will be found traces of an ancient culture. They've already found it. Near Cuba, they tried to keep it secret. but the military was involved and some people talked, and now it's out. So this prophecy, there will be found traces of an ancient culture, has already borne out true. It says, also at other places will new land emerge from the sea. Many people are predicting that. I don't see any closed quotes there, and I don't know who said it. So you have a quote left open, and now we're entering a new quote, and it starts out, a world destruction as happened to Atlantis 11,000 years ago. Instead of Atlantis, all of England and parts of the northwest European coasts will sink into the sea. And in contrast, the sunken Azores region, the island of Poseidonus, will again be raised from the sea. By comparison, Casey predicted that the island of Poseidia, which he located in the Bahamas near Bimini, would rise from the sea in the late 1960s. Boy, is that island late. It's more than 50 years late. Next paragraph. During World War II, an Englishman, Lewis Spence, counter-predicted the Dresden Pythia in his book. Will Europe follow Atlantis? Spence predicted that a tilting of the Earth's axis would cause the European continent to sink, a punishment for waging war against the British. In 1921, a German writer, George Lohmer, in his book Coming World Catastrophes, cited a Harvard University study to prove his theory that Atlantis had already started to rise. Two Harvard professors made a study of the sea bottom in the western part of the Atlantic Ocean in 1912 and concluded that the seabed had undergone a significant rise. Either Lohmer was taken in by a hoax, or those professors really do bear the singularity unfortunate names of Dr. Liar and Dr. Deluder. In fact, though, the Atlantic seabed has been rising along the mid-Atlantic ridge. England's most noted prophet in the early part of the century was Count Louis Hamon, Hamon, who wrote under the name of Cheiro, Cheiro. In his 1927 book, Cheiro's World Predictions, he correctly prophesied that Germany and Italy would go to war against France and England. Here is what he predicted about earth changes and Atlantis. Quote, during the coming 50 years, an earthquake zone will develop in a northeasterly direction from the Pacific coast of Peru, passing through Panama and Mexico, through northern states and Canada to the Arctic regions. Wow. I wonder if that is the New Madrid fault line. I have seen animations prepared by someone by the name of Konstantin from Moldova. He gets his information from Zeta Talk, and he showed the USA splitting down the middle, an area from Lake Erie to Houston. And on the right side, the east side, that section goes north and east. On the left side, the west side, that portion goes south and west. And as you know, Zeta Talk predicted and that it will be salt water, and that salt water will go all the way to Chicago. Is this true? I have no idea. The next paragraph says, eastern cities of North America will be seriously affected, and a considerable part of New York will be destroyed. Now, the problem here is we don't know if he's talking about New York State or the city of New York. It is New York, New York. There was no closed quote on that last paragraph, and here's a new quote. During the next 50 to 100 years, after a series of devastating earthquakes, the islands of the Azores will rise from the Atlantic, and the ruins of the long-lost continent of Atlantis will be discovered and explored. Unquote. Next paragraph. Medium Anthony Neate, N-E-A-T-E, channeled an entity named Helio-Arcanophus, A-R-C-A-N-O-P-H-U-S, who claimed to be a king of ancient Atlantis. Neate's group, called the Atlanteans, had in 1957 published a prophecy by Helio-Arcanophus about Earth changes and Atlantis. Now there's a colon, and then there's this long quote which says, events will work up gradually. There will be earthquakes where they are not normally experienced. Volcanoes will become active which have been extinct for centuries. Abnormal weather conditions will prevail, getting worse as time progresses. The seasons will appear to have no more significance, for there will be warm days in winter months and cold days during the normally warm periods of your year. A substance commonly known as black rain will fall from the skies, and there will be considerable chaos. Now, black rain sounds like petroleum products, and Zeta Talks said that these clouds that surround Planet X are methane and petroleum, basically. They're carbon. Carbon is like coal. It's black. I mean real black. Black rain, does that mean black like coal? If so, that is very black. It's probably carbon-based, and carbon is coal, and carbon is also petroleum. So black rain is supposed to fall from the skies, and there will be considerable chaos. When these events have risen to a crescendo, the Earth will tilt, which means pole shift. Most of the predictions I have heard were 90 degrees. And that comes from the Zetas. They fly the stars. We are told they have an IQ of 275 on average. That makes Einstein look like a fool. And if they say it's going to be a 90-degree tilt, it's not crazy. We have evidence that there was such a thing in the past. Elephants found in Siberia, where it is very cold, had tropical plants in their stomachs. They were flash frozen about 4,000 years ago. The South Pole has no ice that's older than 4,000 years. There was a pole shift about 4,000 years ago, it seems. Now, if you're reading all the time and you gather up all this information like I do, then there's reason to suspect that pole shifts take place every 4,000 years or so. The Zetas say the average is 3,657 years for the orbit of Planet X. They say Planet X is real and it's coming. Do I think it's coming? I think there's a lot of evidence that would suggest that they are correct. And I'm just waiting until I see it in the sky before I fully believe, because I've been a fool so many times in my life. This time, I want to be more careful. I want to hold off until I see it with my own eyes. People are telling me they see it. They see it in the mornings, they say. I have never seen a photograph of Planet X that I found credible. The Zetas are talking through Nancy Leader, and Nancy Leader has put photos of Planet X. I don't believe any of them are Planet X. When I see pictures of a double sun, I don't believe that either one of those is Planet X. But I'll tell you what I do believe. I believe that Einstein was right when he said that mass can curve light. And then there was an eclipse, and he proved it. The stars seemed to jump. They would be in a certain position for a while, and then suddenly they would just leap over. That's the bending of light. When the light is no longer influenced by the object as passing, it doesn't bend. And so there was a leap in the position of that star. And I think that's what's happening on the sun. You're seeing the sun twice. It's not two suns. You're seeing the sun twice. And it's because of the bending of the light. Now, what could bend the light? A massive object like a dwarf star. How much mass does that star have? Because we have a lot of planets, and they have mass also, and Jupiter has a whole bunch of mass. You know, in the solar system, 98% of all the mass is in the sun, and about 1.5% is in Jupiter. That leaves all the rest of the planets to divide up what's left. It's about 1/2%. There isn't much mass other than Jupiter and the sun is the 800-pound gorilla. So if Planet X is real, that would explain why we're seeing a double sun. It's the bending of light. That's my humble opinion. Do your own research to reach your own conclusion. Now, I want to read that again. I have to read two sentences because the second one refers to the first one. A substance known as black rain will fall from the skies, and there will be considerable chaos. When these events have risen to a crescendo, the earth will tilt. Many lands will disappear beneath the boiling seas, and some will rise from their watery resting places. Among the latter will be the island continent of Atlantis, a land which never completed its evolution and will soon return to do so. End of the quote. Now when he says beneath the boiling seas, we can take that literally, and he means the water gets so hot it boils, and that would be not the entire oceans. There's 7 of them. It would probably be little places here and there, like in Hawaii, you see the rock coming out of the ground is red hot and it's boiling the water nearby, but it doesn't boil it for miles and miles and miles out. He might also be referring to the seas figuratively, saying they're broiling. I think the correct word might be roiling, R-O-I-L-I-N-G. When someone says boiling seas, you can take it literally or you can take it figuratively. I don't know which he means. Many lands will disappear beneath the boiling seas. Does he mean tsunamis that come in and cover land? Does he mean the polar caps melt? The South Pole has 2 miles of ice, and if that melted, sea level all over the planet would rise 200 feet, and then you add to that what the Zetas have advised, that the water will warm up and that it will expand, and that sea levels will rise 675 feet. And I get so many comments from people who live near the coast, and they ridicule me for repeating what I have read. Some of them tell me they want to buy up all of the